Christmas is supposed to be a happy time of year. Most people give gifts that bring smiles and merriment. Transcanada is giving us abuses and lies for Christmas. Not just here, but to the entire world. So we're here to present 12 of the greatest disgraces that Transcanada is giving the world this year for Christmas. The first disgrace of Christmas lies about jobs. Transcanada is giving the gift of false hope that the Keystone XL pipeline will bring tens of thousands of new jobs. It is claimed that the project may generate as many as 150,000 American jobs. However, according to the data that Transcanada supplied in its 2008 presidential permit application, the project will create no more than 2,500 to 4,650 temporary construction jobs. Moreover, only a small fraction of those jobs will be local. Based on the same data that Transcanada itself provided the State Department, the Keystone XL is predicted to generate a mere 156 to 470 local jobs here in Texas. So if these alleged tens of thousands of jobs aren't in construction, then where are they? Maybe maybe they will be in manufacturing jobs for the U.S. steel industry. Think again. Transcanada has contracted with the India-based corporation Wellspun and the Russian company Evraz to manufacture its steel pipe. In fact, as of last April, Transcanada had already imported 700,000 tons of steel from Wellspun, which is more than 85% of the proposed project requirements. So if you're asking yourself, the jobs are not in construction and manufacturing, then what is the basis for these exaggerated jobs claims? All the numbers that Transcanada and their political cronies are using come from a study that was commissioned and paid for by Transcanada itself. The truth is, the companies claim that Keystone XL will create tens of thousands of direct construction and manufacturing jobs is unsubstantiated. No other study has corroborated Transcanada's numbers. Instead, every independent study concerning Keystone XL and job creation has refuted Transcanada's exaggerated claims.
The second gift from Transcanada, toxic tar. It's not oil. Tar sands is not oil. It's not even liquid. Rick George, President and CEO of Canada's Suncor Energy, says you can't use tar sands as a lubricant because it contains minerals nearly as abrasive as diamonds. You can't pump it because it's as hard as a hockey puck in its natural state. I was a hockey player. I know hockey pucks. Technically, the hydrocarbons in tar sands are called bitumen. Its chemical makeup is 5% sulfur, which is up to 8 times the sulfur content as high-quality Texas oil. 2% naphthenic acids, and these things are bad. I'm a chemist. I know these things, okay? Which are key ingredients in napalm, 1,000 parts per million of heavy metals, and a host of other contaminants, including asphaltenes, resins, nickel, and vanadium. I, as a chemist, would not handle these things. The only way to make bitumen flow through a pipe is to heat it and dilute it. Transcanada will dilute its bitumen into a slurry using combinations of natural gas condensate, light crude oil, and other mystery chemicals it refuses to reveal, claiming it is proprietary information. Ultimately, Transcanada's claim that Keystone XL is just another oil pipeline is a lie. Any chemist can tell you that, and I'm telling you that. Diluted bitumen slurry is not oil.
Yay! Transcanada has also given us eminent domain issues. Transcanada has consistently behaved poorly, earning itself a bad actor legal status in the eyes of many. Transcanada has used deceptive practices to market this pipeline and acquire easements. They've lied to landowners about contents, payment for damages, permitting, trespassing, and are suing Americans while robbing them of their property rights. They have marketed this project as an American oil pipeline, but it is anything but that. To date, Transcanada still lacks the presidential permit requisite to begin pipeline construction. However, for over 3 years, they've been lying to American landowners, claiming to have all the permits required to invoke the power of eminent domain. The bottom line is that Transcanada is a foreign corporation lying to American citizens in order to lay claim to private rights, private property rights. Rick Perry, the man who claims to be a law and order candidate, is allowing a foreign corporation to mess with Texas.
Yes.
Yeah!
The next gift is that of environmental injustice.
Come on up.
One leg of the Keystone XL pipeline will terminate in West Port Arthur, and another one right here in Houston, Texas, where it will be found at the Manchester Valero facility. This pipeline delivers diluted bitumen to Valero in Motiva in Port Arthur, and again in Manchester's Valero here in Houston. The residents that neighbor these refineries already breathe some of the worst air in America. In 2008, the Canadian Energy Data and Analysis Center concluded that synthetic crude made from tar sands has the highest combustion emission intensity and is the most energy-intensive crude to process. What this means is more emissions and continued degradation of the air for Port Arthur's minority west side and Houston's east side. Tar sands emissions have up to 8 times for sulfur than high-quality Texas crude and many other toxins that will add to our already bad air.
Yes.
Keystone XL gives the gift of water and security to millions of Americans. The pipeline route crosses our nation's largest aquifer, the Ogallala, as well as the Carrizo-Wilcox and Gulf Coast aquifers here in East Texas. These precious freshwater resources provide drinking water for tens of millions of Americans, as well as irrigation for America's breadbasket. Our national pipeline regulatory body, the Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, or PHMSA for short, asserts that tar sands may cause more wear and tear on pipelines. Additionally, PHMSA administrators have testified that proper evaluation of what measures would be necessary to ensure that raw tar sands pipelines could be operated safely do not exist. The State Department Environmental Impact Statement concludes that Keystone XL could leak as much as 1.7 million gallons a day without triggering a real-time leak detection system. The EPA reports it cannot fully estimate the impacts of a pipeline spill into our aquifers because Transcanada will not reveal exactly what chemical dilutes will be added to the slurry. At least this much is clear. KXL will require much higher pressure and temperatures to keep the thick diluted bitumen slurry flowing. Data suggests these pressure extremes will make Keystone XL far more susceptible to leaks. Let's not forget that we can survive without oil, but we cannot live without water.
All right, yes.
Next gift is ecocide. In order to make tar sands oil, you have to destroy the earth. Every aspect of the ecosystem is destroyed. Boreal forest is clear-cut. Wetlands are drained and water resources are pillaged. Open pit mines in Alberta plan to clear-cut and excavate a forest area the size of Florida. 2 tons of earth must be excavated to produce just 1 barrel of bitumen. And that's just scratching the surface, literally. Once strip mining reserves are exhausted, deeper bitumen formations must be melted out of the ground. This process known as steam-assisted gravity drainage, transforms clean river water into toxic sludge called tailings. Natural Resources Canada has found that tailings contain toxic amounts of benzene, cyanide, arsenic, ammonia, fluoride, and dozens of carcinogens. To date, the tar sands industry has created over 50 square miles of toxic tailings storage ponds. These ponds are so massive, they are rapidly approaching the status of the world's largest impoundments of toxic waste. The walls of the ponds are made from earth stripped off the top of open pits and rise an average of 270 feet. They can be seen from space. Tailings ponds have no impermeable barriers. Accordingly, every day, millions of gallons leach into the Athabasca River. Make no mistake, if TransCanada aims to profit from this tar sands exploitation, then it must be held accountable for these environmental atrocities.
Your next gift is pipeline leaks. Every pipeline ever built has leaks. It's only a matter of time. TransCanada has a terrible track record when it comes to pipeline leaks. Keystone XL's sister pipeline, commonly known as Keystone 1, is brand new and has already leaked 14 times since June 2010. It is the first time a brand new pipeline has been issued a corrective action order by U.S. regulators. The document refers to Keystone 1 as an imminent threat to life, property, and the environment. There's a gift. Remember, if Keystone XL is approved, it would leak diluted bitumen, not oil. On July 26, 2010, America suffered its first large diluted bitumen pipeline spill in Marshall, Michigan. 40 miles of the Kalamazoo River had to be closed off and remain closed today, 17 months later. The cleanup efforts have taught the EPA that tar sands have a higher specific gravity than oil, and accordingly it sinks in water. What this tells us is that our government is not prepared to handle a diluted bitumen spill. Do you trust that TransCanada will offer up hundreds of billions of their own dollars in the event of a spill, or will they leave it to us to figure it out for ourselves?
Yay! Next gift is human rights abuses. Environmental contamination caused by the tar sands industry is killing indigenous communities in the Mackenzie River Basin. TransCanada is aiding and abetting these human rights abuses through its propagation of tar sands extraction. The Portuguese and First Nations communities living downstream from Ground Zero of tar sands extraction are now suffering from higher rates of cancer, renal failure, lupus, and hypothyroidism than ever before. A peer-reviewed 2009 report found the people of Fort Chip had 30% higher cancer rates than models would predict. These high rates of blood, lymphatic, and soft tissue cancers are the direct result of the systematic poisoning and polluting of their ecosystem. Every day, tar sands upgraders release nearly 300 tons of sulfur into their air. Every day, over 1 million gallons of toxic tailings seep into their water supply. A 2007 study found highly elevated levels of mercury and arsenic in the fish, water, and sediments samples taken around Fort Chip. As a result, their fish populations now have fin erosion, liver abnormalities, and cataracts. Their moose and duck populations are growing rare tumors. The people of Fort Chip require these resources to live. Ultimately, a company that condones human rights violations cannot be trusted.
Another gift. Lies about energy independence. TransCanada wants you to believe that the Keystone XL pipeline will significantly reduce America's dependence on imports from the Middle East, thus increasing our energy security. It wants you to believe their product will be sold exclusively in America. This is a lie. In 2009, TransCanada identified 6 exporters that have already signed long-term contracts, accounting for more than 75% of Keystone XL's capacity. More than 75%. The 3 largest contracts are with Valero, the largest exporter of refined products in the U.S., Motiva, a joint refining venture between Royal Dutch Shell and Saudi Arabia's Aramco, and Total, a French-owned supermajor. Moreover, Valero, Motiva, and Total are located in Port Arthur's foreign trading zone, which means they are exempt from customs duties as well as most state and local taxes. The bottom line, Keystone XL will bring tar sands to America's largest exporter as well as to foreign-owned refineries that will ship their profits overseas and will not pay American taxes or tariffs in the process. Instead of contributing to our energy independence, Keystone XL will enrich foreign corporations by selling tar sands on the global market. Merry Christmas.
The next gift, higher fuel prices. The Keystone XL pipeline will bring the gift of higher gas and food prices to millions of Americans, particularly in the Midwest. Transcanada's 2008 Canadian permit application states, quoting, "Access to the U.S. Gulf Coast via Keystone XL is expected to strengthen Canadian crude oil prices in the Midwest by removing supply," end quote. This is expected to increase Canadian tar sands industry revenue by nearly $4 billion annually. In other words, Transcanada, our friendly neighbor to the north, wants to give you the gift of 10 to 20% per gallon increase in gas and diesel prices by means of bypassing refineries in Chicago and the rest of the Midwest. Not only will we pay more at the pump, but on a national level we also see food prices increase, resulting from the increases to farm operation costs. Projections show that if Keystone XL is approved, Midwest farmers could see their fuel expenses rise between $2 to $3 billion annually, and that cost will be passed on to us, the American public.
Final.
No, you got one more.
We have one more? We're not fun. So many gifts we can't keep track of.
Climate chaos. By supporting tar sands exploitation, TransCanada is complicit in exacerbating our climate crisis. The synthetic crude created from tar sands is the most energy-intensive crude that exists. Bitumen in its natural state cannot be refined into fuel, nor will it flow into a pipeline. It first must be upgraded. Bitumen upgraders are among the world's worst air polluters. The upgrading process, which involves removing impurities from the bitumen and adding hydrogen, produces 2 to 3 times more smog, sulfur dioxide, and particulate matter than conventional oil. Upgraders are so energy intensive, the fuel they require typically adds between 100 to 200 pounds of CO2 per barrel to bitumen's carbon footprint. In fact, a comprehensive study conducted by the National Energy Technology Laboratory shows that fuel refined from Canadian bitumen has the highest total emissions of any fuel, a shocking 244% greater than that of domestic crude oil. When you put it all together, the additional emissions from strip mining, steaming, boiling, and upgrading that goes into bitumen production adds, on average, 3 times more CO2 to the atmosphere than a barrel of normal crude.
Wow. Well, the final gift for today, but there are many more that we haven't even addressed, is how this undermines our green energy revolution in this country, a green industrial revolution. Transcanada's toxic Keystone XL tar sands pipeline is the exact opposite direction we need to be headed as a nation and world. It would violently undermine the emerging green industrial revolution and the millions of permanent jobs that would create. Instead of saddling our children with the horrific gifts TransCanada is offering us here today, let's put America back to work designing, manufacturing, building, and installing the solar panels, the wind turbines, the geothermal systems, and alternative fueled vehicles that can power us into a hopeful future. Instead of waging war with the planet, we need a wartime-like mobilization to turn back the tide of the global climate crisis before it is too late. It's time for a green energy moonshot for America. And in terms of, I think it'd be nice if we can get all these signs and the pictures and maybe get a chant going, shame on TransCanada.
I was careful not to touch it. Did you hear me?
Shame on TransCanada.
Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame on TransCanada. Shame